My name is Neal Pan, and I'm running for Livermore City Council.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about Livermore?
My favorite thing about Livermore, it's a good question. I think one of my favorite things about Livermore is the town itself and the diversity of the town, the different things you can do in this town. Being a part of this town, I've lived here for over 40 years, and I've seen this town change and morph over time. And that's been probably the thing that I've enjoyed the most. I mean, we've gone from a 4-lane highway downtown to what we have today, which is, with all of the downtown sort of amenities that we have, the theaters and everything else. We've seen a real renaissance. And I think that, to me, is probably the best thing. And it's taken a long time to get there, and we have more to do.
Why are you running for city council?
I'm running for city council because I've been a longtime resident of this town. I grew up here, I went to school here, I went away and studied architecture, I've come back to the city, I'm raising my family here, bought my house, remodeled it, owned a business here in town for 7 years as well. And I'm running for city council because I've seen all of the great things that past councils have done to make this city a great place to live, work, and play. And I have a lot of the same philosophies that they have had to bring this city to the point that it's at today. And I see an opportunity here to continue to do that. I've been an active participant in the city government for the past 13 years. I've spent 5 years on the Historic Preservation Commission and almost 8 years now on the Planning Commission. So I'm deeply ingrained in how the city works, what the public thinks as they come out to our Planning Commission meetings and talk to us about projects that we're seeing. And I see that as an opportunity now, as there's an open seat on the council, to continue that great work that I've been doing and the great work that everybody's been doing to make this city a great place to live.
Okay, our first big issue is one that's been a big issue for a while, and that's the downtown plan.
Sure.
So let's begin with Stockman's Park, new Central Park downtown.
Yes.
Do you support the council's decision for Stockman's Park?
I do. This past month at the Planning Commission, we've had 2 different meetings all about downtown. Our last one was on Stockman's Park and approving the design standards and guidelines for the landscaping that's going to take place downtown, in addition to the Stockman's Park. And so, yes, I absolutely support the decision that the council made to work with the Stockmans to actually honor a 50-plus-year-old agreement to put a park on the old rodeo grounds, which is where the City Hall and police station and library are now. And so I see this as a total win-win, as the Stockmans agreed to allow for housing and no park on that site, which was the original agreement. And now we're going to have a park in the center of our downtown that honors the Livermore's rodeo and livestock heritage.
Okay, let's move to the plan to put a hotel downtown.
Okay.
Excuse my stuttering there. A downtown hotel has been in the works for almost 20 years now, and it looks like it's about to finally come to fruition. Do you support the council's decision to place the hotel next to the Bankhead Theater?
Yes, I do, actually. A long time ago, the former owner of the Speedy Oil Change was a friend of mine. And back then, this was maybe the late 80s, early 90s, when he started the Speedy Oil Change. I knew back then that that was part of the plan, was to put a hotel in that location on that side. I always thought it was kind of funny that he was going to be building this Speedy Oil Change there for that purpose. Anyway, I think we need a hotel downtown. We don't need a giant hotel downtown. Everybody's been talking about a boutique hotel. The information that the hotel people have given us so far at the Planning Commission is that the size of this hotel is something that can be supported. And so that part of the downtown development is an ideal location to locate a hotel of that size in that location. And I believe it was the right move to put it there. It allows for things like Stockman's Park, the Black Box Theater, and the Science and Technology Center. It allows room for all of these other things, including the open space that's going to be an extension of Stockman's Park to continue. If we tried to put all of that on the west side, there would be sacrifices that would have to be made for all of the other items that are happening on the west side.
So Livermore is no longer immune to the housing crisis of the Bay Area.
Absolutely.
And the city council, the current council, recognized this by adding 130 units of workforce housing to the current downtown plan. Do you support workforce housing being developed in the downtown plan?
I do support workforce housing, but I support workforce housing for everybody in Livermore, not just teachers and firemen and police, absolutely for them as well, but for everyone in town. So when I think of workforce housing, I think of being inclusive of all people in the city. And I do support having that downtown. I think having one of the goals that came out of the year-long process for downtown was to have some open space. So we have our Stockman's Park, and we just mentioned that. But part of the plan is to have some open space to continue across the 8 acres of property downtown. So one of the important things is to keep eyes on that open space so we don't have issues with homelessness and people or activities we don't want to see happening in our downtown. And one way to do that is to keep eyes on that. And having that housing downtown is going to keep eyes on that area 24/7. And so I think it's a good move to do that. Our local businesses require people to frequent them. And one way to do that is to put that residential in the middle of that, or as a part of that. We're seeing very good success with Station Square, Mill Springs Apartments. Those are all projects that are housing right in the middle of downtown. And I think I have friends that actually live over in Station Square. They love it there because they're allowed to basically walk 2 blocks and they get to enjoy all the amenities of downtown. And that keeps eyes on the businesses downtown in the evening. And so it's an important safety concern or safety mechanism to keep those areas safe. In addition, just to allow for a different sort of lifestyle. Not everybody, I mean, some of the people I know that live there are, their kids are gone, they've moved out of the large single family house, and they want something different than that. And so now having that type of housing downtown allows them a place to be. They don't have a big yard to take care of anymore, and they're close to the amenities that they want to frequent most often.
One thing you mentioned in there is you said that you wanted workforce housing for all of Livermore.
Yes.
Do you mean that as in all different occupations, the affordable housing, or do you mean just that it be market rate housing?
I think in this particular case, we're looking at affordable component. I believe the downtown specific plan calls for up to 120% of the median income to be in there, and then various levels of all of that to be downtown. So none of it is going to be market rate, at least when we're talking about those units. We have market rate downtown. We have Station Square. We have other pieces of that. So we have that. One of the things our town needs is a variety of housing stock. The majority of our houses in town are single-family detached, and we need to bring more variety into our housing stock so we can provide opportunities for other people, for more than just the people that want or need a single-family detached house.
Okay, got it. Parking was identified as one of the biggest issues by citizens in the outreach process. Do you believe that this plan has too many, too few, or just the right amount of parking?
So for parking, that was the number one item that came out of the year-long outreach process. And so I believe that what the city has tried to do in response to that is make it a priority. And so as part of that, I believe right now we have approximately 1,100 parking spaces downtown. When all is said and done, we'll be over 1,600 parking spaces. And I think we have adequately met the needs of what we hope to have downtown in a variety of locations. And we're going to have the new downtown L Street parking garage. We're going to expand the parking garage behind the theater right now, the Railroad Avenue one. And we're going to have surface parking as well in the downtown plan, in addition to more accessible parking next to the bankhead. So we're spreading it out throughout the whole town, and I think we have the right number.
Okay. Our next big issue is campaign finance.
Okay.
During the last citywide election, when individuals were limited to $250 per candidate, political action committees spent upwards of $230,000, with most of that money spent by a single group on negative advertising. How do you plan on winning this election?
Well, let me just say that I believe that the former limits, because now we do not have limits of $250 per individual or $500 per couple. I believe that helps to level the playing field between the individual candidates and political action committees, either for or against whatever issues they're looking at. And so I believe that that allows candidates to raise more money to get their message out and compete in this election.
How much do you think you need to raise, and how do you plan on raising that?
So traditionally, in campaigns, if you look across the data, it's somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 for typical city council elections. That's the kind of data that's out there that's easily obtainable. In Livermore, we're probably maybe looking at a little more than that, just based upon the past elections that we've seen, the $230,000 you just mentioned. But I think what's most important is to get out into the public and communicate with that public and get out into the community, talk to the people, find out what they're interested in. And, really that's not money, that's just time and effort. And also too, being part of being on the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation, I've had a great opportunity to interface with the public over all those years. And I think that's what's most important, to try and communicate and learn from the citizens.
Do you have a plan on raising that about $5,000 to $10,000 that you said?
I do have a plan, and I hope it's successful.
Okay. What are your thoughts on political action committees operating in Livermore?
Political action committees are a thing that we have to deal with today. I think in general, they can be good and they can be bad, like anything. And so it's just something we have to deal with. I hope that the political action committees that are working within the City of Livermore do what I would like to see them do, is to talk about the issues and what those issues are. And maybe even if they have an opinion, that's fine. That's more than acceptable to get that opinion out into the public, and because that's what we're all about. And so I think it's just something we have to deal with. And I don't plan on being negative or talking down about either plan. I'm here to just say what I believe, and I've got a record of being on the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Commission, and I think that record stands pretty clear.
Will you condemn efforts by PACs to run negative advertising against your opponent or opponents?
Well, I believe I just said that. I don't want to have anybody negatively campaigning against anyone. If you have a difference of opinion on an issue, that's perfectly fine, but I don't intend to make anything personal here in this election. We have a nonpartisan sort of election here for City Council, and I intend to keep it that way.
Okay, got it. Our last few questions. What are some ideas that you have for the city that we have not already talked about?
Well, we've already covered a little bit about downtown. We've already covered a little bit about housing. I think we need to do more to address the variety of housing stock that we have in town. I think there's some things we can do with universal design standards and bring those sort of standards into our building code, our building ordinances here in town, so that we can allow future housing to be more age-in-place friendly. Is something I would like to work on moving forward. And if I can, real quick, just refer to a note so I don't forget something here. The other thing, too, something we haven't really spoken about, is public safety. Part of Livermore being such a great place to live is that it's a safe place to live. and I wholeheartedly support the police and fire departments in our town. In fact, I'm currently taking the Citizens Police Academy right now this fall, which is a lot of fun and really, really informative. In fact, after this taping here tonight, I'm actually doing my first ride-along with a police officer this evening in town. So I'll get to see firsthand kind of what happens in the evenings and what patrol officers have to deal with. And so I think it's critical to maintain the levels of service that we currently have and address those issues if we are not maintaining those levels, and so that Livermore can remain a safe and a wonderful place to live.
Okay, our last question. We're going to have you directly look into the camera and address the people of Livermore.
Okay.
And is there anything that you would like to say to the citizens before we go?
Sure. Well, again, my name is Neal Pan, and I am running for City Council. I would appreciate your support in November. I've been a lifelong resident of the city. I care very deeply about the city and everything that it has been doing. There are some things that we need to address, and that is our housing issues and safety issues, and as I mentioned earlier. But I think that over the years, Livermore has done a wonderful job of making this community a great place to live. We've done things like instituted an urban growth boundary, scenic corridor, and participated in the South Livermore Valley Plan, which has been wildly successful to making Livermore a great place to live. Things like our inclusionary housing policy, which requires 10% of projects to include affordable housing. And when they don't include that housing, that money that is paid goes out to create projects that are affordable for everyone, including the most recent one under construction being at Chestnut, on Chestnut Street. So I think one of my unique qualities is that I am an architect. Architects are professionally trained to be problem solvers, and we also don't work in a vacuum. The whole goal of everything that I do is collaborative, and I hope that that sort of training, plus my experience on the Planning Commission and on Historic Preservation Commission, will be something that will help guide me in not only maintaining the community character that is become Livermore, but also helping to guide Livermore into its future. And I would appreciate your support and your vote on November 6th.